You are listening to the Nosy Dragon. I am your dungeon master / innkeeper, Justin. I am joined by my player / patron, Ben.
Why, hello there.
In today's session, we talk all about in-between adventures. This episode was made possible in part by Blade Song. More about them later in the episode. Welcome, Mr. Ben. Welcome.
Oh man, it's good to see you again, Justin. It's
Taking some downtime.
That's the problem. Like, I just finished this huge adventure. I slayed a dragon, I saved a princess, I danced on, a couple people's graves, and I even leveled up twice. There's nothing left to do. I don't know what to do with myself.
Sounds like you need somewhere to spend all that gold.
I'm gonna go broke because of you.
I have a fair deal. This is an endless tankard of lemonade. Okay.
Oh.
4,000 gold a month. It's a subscription model.
Deal. When do we start? First payment today?
So it's endless. I mean, it's 100,000 gallons a month. So it's not technically endless, but I mean, who's going to use 100,000 gallons of lemonade?
You know nothing about me.
Now, also, that's part of like a shared network of endless tankards of lemonade. So
it's like an insurance
during
deal.
the summer,
Gotcha.
you might experience flow rate issues.
Damn it! Can't capitalize on this. A quote unquote endless tankard of lemonade sounds like a great scheme to just be like,
Best part is if you bring in one of your party members, okay, you'll get 100 gold from every month that they pay for. And if they bring in party members, you get 10 gold of every 100 gold that they get from
Oh, I've heard of this. It's a triangle plot, right?
Yeah, if you can bring in enough people, you might just be able to afford the overpriced lemonade.
See, this is what I need to be spending my downtime on.
Recruiting peasants. They could never afford it at 4,000 gold a month.
Absolutely not. No way. You'd have to hire like 2 regions, like 2 cities.
Yeah,
full.
You'd have to get so many people involved. All right. Yeah. So this episode, we're tackling the conversation, the topic, the content, all about what you do in between the exciting parts of the adventure, right? And I think downtime is something that is overlooked a little bit. There are rules for it in DMG, but certainly in my campaigns, it has been something there hasn't been a lot of. I tend to have the excitement from last week kick up right where we left off, and my players struggle to often even just get a long rest in, let alone a day, a week, or a month of downtime.
Yeah, sometimes even years, depending on the campaign.
Yeah. I think you could do a year of downtime potentially if you really wanted to. So why should there be more downtime in between the action, and how can that be good and exciting?
Well, I think I definitely agree that downtime is often like looked down upon, or it's just sort of kind of seen as filler. But I feel like there are a lot of things that can get done that in downtime that can be fun and enjoyable, that can build up your character or build out the plot. I think that downtime especially is really, really good for role play because, I mean, a lot of the time, if you have certain characters or people in your backstory, maybe NPCs that you like, that you've interacted with, they're kind of confined to one area. Um, and if you want to have interactions or growth with that relationship with that NPC or character, it's really hard to do unless you're in downtime. Like,
Yeah.
I think a lot of
I,
characters, they have like senseis or mentors or friends, and like,
family, yeah.
yeah, exactly, like family members. Although very often, more than not, those,
Yeah, they're dead.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But if they still exist, it's always good to visit them before they die, before the DM takes them.
Yeah. There's also downtime is useful for crafters if you want to build something. There are rules for making potions and making armor and such, and there are, descriptions for how long that takes. There's a lot of homebrew too there because,
Yeah.
typically an adventuring party that's saving the world is on a bit more of a time crunch than just a group of random people who are just happen to be doing things in the world.
Right.
So if there's a sense of urgency, like, oh, the Lich is collecting the 10 tablets of knowledge, and when he has all 10 of them, he can cast a wish so powerful that not even the gods can undo it or counter it or stop it, right? Then it can feel like, oh, well, we don't have time to take a month for me to craft a magic item.
Yeah, I can't learn how to
So,
fish in that time.
yeah, we should probably, take a short rest on the way to the next location. So
Yeah, exactly.
I think often in those cases it can feel hard to fit in. I think like for my DMing style, it's often like I try to end the session almost on like a cliffhanger, so
Yeah.
that it's exciting what's going to happen next week, kind of a thing. And I think that kind of cuts into having downtimes. But also, I wasn't really present to the value of downtime. But I'll tell you, as a player, there are plenty of things that I want to do or get around to that you can only really do if you have a few weeks
Yeah.
or a few days at a minimum of time to yourself to just fiddle and to just kind of hang and meander and whatever.
It's so true. Adventurers very rarely do get their vacation time, but I feel like it's something that can be a lot further implemented into stories. And like, you bring up a good point with your last thing, that like in those really tense moments or like a very action packed campaign where there's some sort of literal deadline, like you'll die if you reach it. Then yeah, like it can often feel like we don't have time to relax or go back or focus on personal ventures. But I feel like there are other ways that you can make things like that happen. Like I would say from a DM's perspective, having a sort of like an issue of war. Like let's say you get a letter and it says in like 6 weeks time we'll come here with an army, prepare. So you can have time within that allotted to downtime, and that's kind of like preparation, and it's tied in so people can get some, like your players can get some time to themselves, and then like building skills or working on, like maybe they want to add a certain thing, like artificers, if you want to add like a certain thing to your armor and you need time to do it, like that's a good time. Like I think there are definitely opportunities that you can give as a DM that can be like downtime but still used for something, and
Yeah.
still have that work within like the time crunch.
Yeah. I think that yeah, just setting a clear, like, oh, something will happen around this point. So it's like, oh, when the planets align, and it's like, when do the planets align? Next month. And
Yeah,
it's like, oh, okay, great. We have time.
exactly. Yeah, having I think deadlines definitely do like bring up the tension, but having them be like a little far off, it because very often as the DM you control the flow of time. Like
Yeah.
6 months can be like 4 sessions, or it can take like actually 6 months.
Yeah, no, more like 6 months can be a day of in one day of in-game time.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Like I'm currently DMing a game and we've been playing now for I think 6 weeks and it's the second day and it's like before lunch.
Yeah.
So I think canonically they have spent less than 24 hours in game time.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Strong
yeah,
point.
that's very slow, very, 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 very slow. And also really hard on your casters. I mean,
Yeah.
ideally, right? Like if we lived in a perfect D&D world, every session you would have at least one long rest and at least one combat. So, right?
Yeah.
But that's so hard to do. So
Yeah, those are like 8 hour sessions for sure. You get like 4 hours of roleplay, 4 hours of combat.
it can be it's sometimes long rests are so far and few between that it almost feels like leveling up when you finally get one. Like we get, oh my God, we're gonna get a long rest. Oh my God. Like, oh
I'm like, I've used like all like 6 of my level 3 health. Like, I have no healing left whatsoever. I'm at 12 HP. Finally.
yeah. I've used every single once per day ability. I've used all my spell slots. All my hit dice are expended. All of my magic items once per
Fucking
days are spent.
drained. DRAINDD. Ooh, almost couldn't spell that. I brought it through again.
Oh man.
uh,
Okay. So something that came up when I finally in my last campaign, I read something or watched some video about downtime and I was like, oh my God, like I really have been starving my players of downtime. So I decided to let downtime be a thing and someone asked, hey, can I like get proficiency in a skill if I practice? And I was like, yeah. So I was like, all right, over the week, you will be practicing blank skill. And depending on the skill's like difficulty compared to their class or something, right? So like a fighter who's already, proficient in athletics, right? If they want to become proficient in acrobatics, like I feel like provided they have a dexterity bonus of, at least +1, I
yeah,
feel like okay, that's doable,
it makes
right? I
sense for the
mean,
character.
yeah, and also like, okay, can someone become proficient in something in a week? Probably
I
not,
know.
but
Yeah.
like if you're not going to be giving them a year or 6 months of downtime, then be fair and
Yeah.
let them do it in a week. But also like if you're doing a lot of downtime, then you can put like a like a cooldown on it, like because otherwise eventually everyone could potentially become proficient in
In
everything.
every single skill. Yeah,
And there
exactly.
is there is an there is it is good, I would say, to have some diversity in your party skills so that some things are great if everybody is good at them. Like it's good if everybody is proficient in stealth or everybody's proficient in athletics or something. Like
Yeah, like
that's
perception
not
or
gonna,
something.
yeah, like that's not gonna step on someone's toes so much. But like if everybody's proficient in all the knowledge checks,
Yeah.
or everybody's proficient in deception, persuasion, and insight, it can kind of feel like your rogue may not have a place. So I
Yeah,
would definitely
everyone's the
say
face of
like,
the party. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, use DM discretion when allowing your players to gain a new skill. And we also did expertise, like gaining new expertise. However, you could also just increase the difficulty for every additional skill that they want to learn, right? So you could say like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
you have to roll 5 rolls. I want you to roll me 5, athletics checks to gain expertise in athletics. and you have to get, you know, 25 in total 4 times,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? So they could try for it every, downtime. They're like, okay, I'm going to practice my athletics, see if I can get, expertise. And it's like, okay, go for it, right? And if you think about it, you could also make them spend money for it. Like, oh, you got to buy gym equipment, or you got to go pay for a personal trainer
Yeah.
or something
Yeah.
like that.
Exactly.
Because the same way that a player could just go get a magic item, they could essentially do something similar. Like, oh, I have a magic item that doesn't require attunement that gives me, proficiency in perception, right? It's like a pair of glasses or something like that. If they can create those glasses in a week of downtime with 4,000 gold, then why not let your players get expertise in a skill that they like to use a lot,
Yeah.
provided they spend, some money on training and equipment and
And roll high enough as well.
potions,
I like the
steroid
idea.
potions.
Yeah, you have to spend the money to like trek into the high mountains to find the rare coca tree that increases your endurance tenfold when you use
Yeah.
it.
You have to go collect the testosterone from 100 bull testicles.
Oh man. Precisely. Yeah, I think that definitely like putting things behind caps, so like there's some sacrifice that has to be given in order to like gain a skill is a really good idea. Or like, I think a lot of the times when I've done D&D before, um I'll like I'll roll a random loot table or something, and then my one of the players is like a mage or something, and they don't have proficiency in martial weapons, but they find like this really cool battle axe and they really want to use it, and they're like in the middle of downtime, they're like, can I find somebody to like teach me how to use this axe? Like, yeah, I mean, you're a mage, like you're you're a
Yeah.
caster, but I'm not gonna say no. I know how fun it is to swing a big axe around, sure. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I think so something that I've heard of, I'm not sure where I heard this from, but it was like something they did is like so let's say there's a skill you're not proficient in. You have like a tally, like 10, like death saving throws, but we're only tracking the successes for this.
yeah.
And it's basically every time you use that skill successfully, like you meet or exceed the DC of the skill that you're using it for. So we'll give an example for clarity's sake. You're handed a drink by a friendly stranger in a tavern, and you're not proficient in insight, and you say, "Oh," and the DM says, roll me an insight check, and you roll an insight check, and the DC is 15, and you roll a 16, and you go, "I got a total of 16," and then your DM goes, okay, yeah, you get the feeling that he's probably trying to poison you or something like that. Like you get
Yeah.
he seems incredibly nervous, and you get a gut feeling that you shouldn't drink this. Right. So all right, you succeeded. Okay, check off one of the 10 check marks, and once you reach 10,
Oh.
you're now proficient in that skill.
Oh,
And
that's
then
cool.
for a skill you're proficient in already, once you get to 30 successful checks, right? Because you're more likely to use the skill you're proficient in.
Definitely.
Oh, well, that might take me the whole campaign. Well, it might, but, it's not supposed to be, oh, I'm just proficient. Have expertise in everything. So you could, if you see it that way, then you could be like, oh, okay, I'm going to say the training DC is 21 because it's, you're training. It's different. You don't have the same motivation you do in a real life scenario.
Mm.
So let's for your training, your DC is, 21 or 22 or whatever. Go ahead and roll, and I'll give you three attempts. And that way they can add 3 to their 10, right?
Yeah.
Potentially. Right? So it boosts them along into becoming proficient or having expertise in a skill.
That's fantastic. I think that's a really, really good idea and something cool that you could do like during downtime. That's active too. I think a lot of things around downtime, you know, that turns people off is like it's more passive, but I think that there can be a lot of action that happens during like downtime or that time in between adventures as well. Like,
Yeah.
have you ever done like a character one on one, like you as a DM with another player during like in between an adventure for them to go on like a little personal journey?
Do you mean like literally in between? Like none of the other players are there and it's on a different day than we typically play?
Yeah, I mean, have you?
Yeah, I've done that.
And
But it's usually like to tie up something that will take a considerable amount of time and I think would be really valuable to role play through instead of yada yada, okay, it's done. But not something that I think would be fair to have the whole table have to sit down and just watch the two of us role play for 2 hours.
right, yeah, definitely. I totally get that. But I
So I
think
did that. I just did that last week for a campaign I'm DMing. A player
oh,
died, and they met a god, and I was like, okay, I think that this encounter with this god is something we shouldn't just yada yada through. And so we got together and we spent an hour and a half role playing through the encounter of
nice.
meeting the god before they were resurrected. And I think it was super exciting for them and fun, and little connections that they made and things, and it added a lot to their character. So it's not exactly downtime, but it's certainly in between.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that's what's important is it's like it's in between the main sort of D&D like going, exploring, adventuring, like combat, all those sort of things that you traditionally think about with Dungeons and Dragons. It's like having those in between moments, those personal moments, or like the moments like of downtime or connecting one on one are really really important. And sometimes I don't know, like not everyone does that. Not everyone does one on ones, but I think that they have such a
Yeah.
potential to like deepen a character, and it's so exciting when everyone comes back after that and they're like, whoa, what happened? Like, we don't know. There's a whole air of mystery of like there, what happened while they were away, and you get to have that sort of like in-game reconnection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, I definitely think there's value there.
I think that also that ties into downtime as well, especially if you're playing it that there's like a sort of split off of the party and everyone kind of goes and does their own thing. Because over any period of time, like those sort of like moments where everyone wanders and comes back, that sort of reintroduction can be a great time for roleplay. And like moments for
Yeah.
personal growth as a character, which is super important.
Yeah. Something you could do in your downtime is like also like listen to music.
Yeah, well, speaking of that, that reminds us of reminds me in particular of today's sponsor. So, today's sponsor is Bladesong. Bladesong is the number one service for battle music, hands down. Ever face off with a terrifying beast, but only have the clashing of steel and claws and rain pattering against the mud to listen to? Now, with Bladesong, an exciting ballad fit for whatever epic fight you're in can follow you wherever you go. Working in tandem with Alrinia's Bard Society, hundreds of talented bards and their incredible songs are at your fingertips. With a wide selection of genres to choose from, you won't have another dull battle again. Either listen to pre-recorded songs via Magic Mouths or stream to you live through good old-fashioned sending stones. You too can have the thrill of the kill to the sounds of an orchestral masterpiece. Sign up today with code NOSYDRAG and you'll get your first month of music ad-free. Bladesong. Just keep swinging to the beat.
Yeah, I love Blade songs. So the Magic Mouth feature is really awesome because Magic Mouth can trigger on some sort of a thing, right?
Like a
So
stimulus. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I have a song that will play if someone touches my coin purse that isn't me, and
Oh.
it's the sound. It's like that Pink Panther song, and that tells me
Oh
that
man.
someone is trying to get away with my money or something like that. The other
That's
one is great is
fantastic.
if someone draws a sword or dagger or crossbow or prepares an offensive spell within 30 feet of me, it starts to play battle music.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's really helpful because sometimes I'm just, I think I'm alone in the tavern and I hear battle music and I'm like, where's it? What? And then sure enough, there's a ninja in the ceiling
it
preparing to throw a shuriken at me.
it's incredibly convenient. I mean, I feel like the whole like sneaking up factor has completely changed for me, and I don't necessarily see them right away, but you know, as soon as I hear, there's this one Trixie lady. I love her lute playing, and she always does it as soon as someone pulls like a dagger specifically, and like anytime I hear that little twang of the lute, I know. Oh, I know it's on.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
times.
Well, other than I think yeah, something I don't know if we've ever done this, but so like I was watching Critical Role's TV show Ex Machina.
Oh yeah.
And something that they do in the TV show is they let you see what's going on behind the scenes with the bad guy, right? And I thought that was interesting in D&D because I was just like, "Whoa, wait, do they I've never watched Critical Role like a full
Yeah.
4 hour, episode of them in reality. So like I don't know how they handle everything, but I was just
Yeah.
thinking like, wow, that'd be fascinating actually as a DM, if during like a downtime moment as a DM, you sat down and narrated something the BBEG was doing, right? And it's like
Yeah.
it's not that the character, the players get to know, but their characters don't get to know this information. It's just it's just something to entertain the players. So like, maybe an argument with the the general and his first in command,
Yeah.
and you can tell that the first in command may be ready to mutiny or something like that. And
Oh man,
I
that's so
think
cool.
it would be okay almost to let your players like insight the next time they see the guy or something like that. So
Yeah.
that's not solely just for world building, because it's like, oh, okay, well, here's the commander, the first in command, let's attack him. And it's like, I want to insight. Does he look, you know, how's his job satisfaction? Does he look gruntled or is he disgruntled? Right. And then it's like, all
Very
right, I want
well
to try to
put.
persuade him, and that could be something that would never come up if they didn't have that cutscene. And obviously that's a little bit of like, but it's also
Teeny bit
I
metagame.
it's a teeny bit metagaming, but like I'm kind of I'm a I'm okay with that. It's intentional, I would say, at
Yeah,
that point.
you've set something up like on the stage so that your players can interact with it. I feel like that's a totally different thing than just
So,
like them using player knowledge to like straight up start shit.
but
Yeah.
it's also rewarding more so. I
Mm.
think if it's like, oh man, I know this guy is, or like, okay, so yeah, let me finish that train of thought before I never come back to it. So it could be more rewarding of like, oh man, he was unhappy, and here we are convincing him to fight on our side, and it makes sense, and that's cool, and it makes the world feel more realistic. On the other hand, I think something you could do is have downtime events like you have your villain and you show him like taking off his armor alone, right? And like washing his
Yeah.
the war paint off his face and combing his hair and like sitting in his bed and like letting out a soft, like a really hard sigh, and pulling out his journal and like start writing, and then you can see like you see teardrops dropping on the page,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, he's like a real person. And it's like when he goes out in the world and he's like intimidating and this ruthless guy, like he does all that in to be the face of a thing for what he believes in, but at the end of the day he's like a real person just like
Wow.
us,
Yeah.
and like he's just doing that because so I think that could also evoke some emotional distress in the players when they're fighting him, because they as players know that he's actually at his core a decent person who believes in what they're doing
Wow.
for
Yeah.
whatever reason. Kind of like Thanos in the Avengers,
Mm.
movie series. You see Thanos in many different places, and you get to know him as an individual throughout, and you realize he's a bad guy, but
Yeah.
he's not a bad guy.
Yeah. I absolutely adored the Infinity War movie because it got me so conflicted about Thanos as a character because I could totally sympathize with him. I was like he's a fanatic, but he's trying to do what he believes is good for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we could talk all about that and like creating compelling villains, and
Oh
creating
yeah.
more diverse, goals than just like power for the sake of power. But yeah, so I think having something to explain why, a BBEG is the way he is, or perhaps like a favorite NPC, like
Yeah, yeah.
getting to watch them do something, explaining like a little side quest, like taking 15 minutes to explain this tavern keeper like tracking down a rare brew or something at
Yeah.
like a market, and having a little meet cute with like another tavern owner who's they like have a little connection, and like,
Oh
and that
man.
way when they see him again, it's like that fondness that they already have for that tavern keeper is like boosted even more so, and the
Absolutely.
players will then end up having like more loyalty to that character and stuff.
That's such a good idea, and because it's so hard to find those moments. Like, of course, you make do with what you can when you're in the middle of playing a game and players, off doing what they want to do, and taking whatever direction you had and throwing it out the window. But I think that having moments like that during downtime where you can really get the nitty gritty and have like intimate moments that not necessarily your player characters are a part of, but your players can interact with. This is a super super unique idea. Like I think about like Avatar: The Last Airbender, the show, like all those moments where you like see the flames rising in the background and like you can't see like the Fire Lord's face, but you hear his voice and all the people that he's talking to, like all that building, like that is cool, and that would be
My
really cool to
mind
have.
went straight to the cabbage sales guy.
Mike Cabbages.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That too. That too. It's like two things on the same side, opposite sides of the same coin.
Yeah. Something also that you can do is like just have your players visit their family. You know, you could also have them be able to invest into a property that they own or something like that. So it's like they go home to the town that they live in,
Yeah.
and they see their wife and kids, and they're like, "Oh, let's repair this front door, or let's, you know, buy an add-on for the back of the house, or like I want to add a secret basement for like weapons and or whatever."
Yeah, I remember when you were running a campaign, and our player characters, we were all like members of like this police force organization for magic creatures. Us having our own apartment and living together was kind of cool. Like wanting to build out extensions for my family to live in, and like building out more rooms and like tricking it out to have like a safe shelter. That was cool. That was fun to have.
Yeah, just, and also it creates a certain level of continuity and kind of a on ownership in the world, like a sense of belonging for your character. In
Oh
our
yeah.
current campaign that you're DMing for us, we live on the train, right? And so like going
Yes.
back to the train is a place where, hopefully in the future, we haven't really had a lot of opportunities yet. But like a place where we can spend downtime as characters and, well, as players, yeah, as characters, sorry, as characters, and kind of, you know, have little one-on-one moments with each other and kind of talk
Mm.
about stuff and get each other's opinions and write letters and things like that.
Definitely. I want to have a lot more events happening on the train. Like I plan to research things into like crazy stories that happens during transit on a train and like bringing those into the story somehow. Because I think the moments I'd like a relationship to be built with that place for you guys. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Absolutely.
think, those are great moments to have your characters flesh out their backstories a little more. Maybe
Mm.
the characters can all take like 10 or 15 minutes and talk to each other about like what their character is doing during their downtime,
Yeah.
or role play with each other, or role
Mm.
play about what they're doing and connecting with their people, right? What do they do when they go talk to their family members? What do they do when, they go fishing or whatever alone? Like, just a little inserts of like, what are they up to?
Yeah, some of my favorite moments as a DM is just being able to sit back and like have a moment where all of my players are like completely in character and role playing with each other, and not everything, not like anything needs to be happening, like nothing crazy, but like just the way that their players that they create interact is awesome. It's so fun. It's so cool, and I know as my character, like when I'm playing, I enjoy that too. I think it's fun to have those connections.
Yeah.
Also, patrons or like gods for your
Yeah.
more
Connecting
religious
with
characters.
deities
Ooh, that's fun.
and
Like,
bosses,
oh
someone you work for, your guild master or something like that.
yeah, definitely. Uh, I still remember good old Heave Starvey back in our campaign.
Yeah.
I
Police.
love that guy.
What do they call him? The chief or something?
He was like the
Police
commissioner.
chief of police.
Yeah, chief of police. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Heave Starvey.
He used to be. Yeah. Having those things are kind of like cool little downtime moments. I had a whole game that we played that was basically became 90% downtime, and we were playing in the prohibition time, so moonshine was all about and
Oh,
gangsters were coming about and the mafia was becoming a thing, running their illegal moonshine and running speakeasies,
right,
which are
right.
like hidden bars and taverns and whatnot. And it was a fantasy setting but set in America during that time.
Time of libations. Yeah, prohibition. Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, like we were organized crime guys, and one of the quests the DM had for us was like, oh, go buy this hotel so that you can start a speakeasy in the basement for the boss. And we did that, and then it was like, then some stuff came up about running in the hotel and like how that would work, and running the tavern, the speakeasy, and how that would work. And then we came up with some simple rules for like at the end of every week, how much money does each thing make? And you like roll dice, and you can, if you like invest the money back into the building, the dice you can roll go up, or you get
Oh wow.
modifiers that add, or you can get advantage, depending on little things you do every week, if you like do advertising and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we fleshed out a system so smoothly that it became the only thing I wanted to do was just improve my business and to like get people connected to my business. I
Wow.
did a whole quest to like hire a chef to come work at the restaurant in my hotel. And it got to the
Oh my
point where
god.
the legal business was making more money than the illegal business. And I then started doing quests to like leave the mafia
Oh my god. That's
to
so
just
funny. Just to move on to your more lucrative like up above the
yeah.
board business. Oh my. You know what? I'm starting to be a little curious about how you came to be a bartender, Mr. Just Son. That's there's I think I might need to pry into that a little bit later.
Yeah, I mean, you think adventuring is lucrative, but there's a lot of high risk involved.
Definitely. Medical
There's
bills are crazy. Do you know how much a fucking potion costs?
yeah, exactly, bandits and travel. magic items to support that career. Like you don't think of it, but you're like, oh, I have 4,000 gold. Okay, I'm gonna buy this sword so I can
Yeah.
kill monsters more effectively. And it's like that's good for your business as a small business owner of a of an adventuring party, right? And so it seems like the only thing you'd want to do, but if you could invest 4,000 gold into a tavern, you could have an amazing tavern.
Oh yeah.
Like, and the amount of money you'll be able to make if you can draw enough interest and do enough advertising
Like the
with the,
adventures are the advertising. It's just to build more stories for your bards to tell. Oh my god.
yeah,
That's brilliant.
yeah, you you hire adventurers to go do stuff and you send bards with them just to have stories to
Oh my
tell,
god.
to sell more drinks at your tavern.
It's so funny. That's
Um,
amazing. It brings up a really good point. Like having moments in between adventures is also really good to talk about like where you want your campaign to go, like as players. Like for
yeah,
you in that case, like you wanted to transition away from the actual like underground criminal mafia stuff and more into like
yeah.
managing your business.
The campaign died because the DM was like, I shot myself in the foot here. I could clearly see everyone's having way more fun managing their businesses than doing the quests that I have for them. And I also see that like I made it too profitable, and so it's like now the quests aren't offering enough money for you to want to go do them,
Oh.
but it's unrealistic for them to pay you so much. So like I think we should just end it here, and that was fine. But it's just kind of like it's like all right, I want to buy a griffin, and it's like oh for flying as a flying mount. You're like no no no, I'm gonna make it a homing griffin, and we're gonna do like shipping.
Like large, long distance, great
Yeah.
traveling pigeons. That's
Oh my
so.
gosh.
Oh, see, if I was DMing that, I would be like, you know what? They found their stride. They found something that they're having fun with. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna fucking give like. That's what it's
I'm
good.
buying 3 warships. Are you planning to do battle? Oh no, we're gonna kit them out into shipping ships.
Yeah,
What?
actually, we're transitioning. Our restaurants need more like diversity, so we're gonna opening like a fishing outfit, and like we're gonna gather a lot of like sea vegetation and try to transfer it into like fuel.
My gosh. Yeah. We're taking the 8 warships and we're gonna meld them into one incredibly massive long ship, so that we can do less routes and take heavier cargo. Did we just invent freighters?
Meanwhile, your DM's like, man, I have to start building like ocean encounters, and like they're gonna have the most teched out battleship in all time. It's
The
like,
ship is so large that like a kraken comes up to the side of it and it looks small compared to like our Carnival cruise shipping
it
boat.
looks like a squid that's stuck on the side of a fucking like fishing boat.
It's like Air Battalion 1, like 100 griffins take off
Pew, 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 pew,
and they
pew.
just start magic missiling it. It's like, oh, the
Oh,
magic missiling wands are effective. It's slow but guaranteed death. Good distance, all of them, so there's no
we can
risk.
take the hits.
The sea monsters just leave, and then we have our repair staff that just all run out. Their wands of
Oh my
mending.
god, so funny.
No risk here. No, no, no.
We this stock has to reach the customers who are looking for it. There's no way we're not gonna
I
get
mean, you
it.
could go the other direction. See, I was like bag of holding on, like a larger bird, just like a falcon or something, and then you do shipping that way.
Oh my god, like micro transactions. That's so funny.
Okay, all right. Anyway, you get the point. So,
Those are the kinds guys, ideas for your downtime. Remember this. Screw over your DMs. Change the direction.
yeah, and I think that it isn't unnatural, I would say, for your characters to be interested in setting up small business and stuff like that. So,
Absolutely.
and I think managing them in your downtime could be something that's a lot of fun and give you something rewarding to spend your money on. as a player, like improving a tavern that you own and hiring staff and things like that. And you could make like a random encounter table for your DM to like roll to see if like your bar, if there's like a bar fight that costs a lot of damages. And then
Yeah.
that could generate a quest of like finding the guys who started the fight and getting them to pay for the damage, or you know,
Absolutely.
or there was a fire and like how much of the bar was ruined and how much does it cost to have it repaired, and
Yeah.
like who started the fire? Is there a competition? Was it an accident? Like so it can certainly be but it's definitely not for every campaign. If you're doing
Yeah.
a save the world game where Vecna is in his unholy army is crossing the country, turning everything into undead.
Yeah.
Maybe tavern building and shipping companies is not the proper downtime
Yeah,
activity.
not quite realistic. That's not gonna last.
Yeah.
Very true.
However, people need a place to go when the world is ending. It's a lot of money.
Yeah. Look, I'm just saying is this. Most people want to die drunk, and who am I to deny them that? Who am I to deny their coin? Uh,
Yeah.
Money's got to go
Yep.
somewhere.
You can use your magic to create buildings and then get into the real estate business. All right.
Perfect.
Well, guys, I think that's pretty much everything.
Yeah.
It's also a good time to talk in character if you want about like the direction of the campaign, like what the group wants to do. But
I would say definitely making a culture of having downtime be time where people level up is a huge relief off your DM because you don't have to be calculating like crazy fights. You don't have to be in the middle of like storyboarding characters or like playing out all your NPCs. Their downtime, they get to do what they want to do, and then you can move on to leveling up however way you want them to. You can add all your calculations then.
yeah.
I'd say it's beautiful.
Um, then we talked about shopping already.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I hope that was helpful on helping you guys to figure out what to do in your downtime and in between your sessions, or just in between the action, in between the excitement, the adventure. Don't If you take away anything, it's have more downtime in your campaign if you don't already,
Yeah.
and do a little bit of research. There. If you read through the in the DMG, there's stuff there, and if you're a player and you're interested in the stuff that's in the DMG about downtime, bring it to your DM and go, hey, I want to do these things. Can
Yeah.
we make time for this? Because your DM has a lot on their plate, and often they're not thinking about making downtime more engaging and more exciting. They're thinking about
What their next encounter is going to be.
the next encounter or villain or something like that stuff, plot stuff that's driving the game forward. So you can bring it to them, suggest it, or ask for it, and I think that's helpful to everybody.
Damn straight, man. Well, I know for myself personally, I think I'm gonna start a silvering business. I think I am. I think I've got a lot of gold, and I think I'm ready for some silver.
Yeah, I have a guy who's really great at surveying for mines. I
Oh,
invest into mining with that guy, so I'm actually here. I'll give you 5,000 gold,
wow.
an investment. I want to be a 25% owner of that silver mine.
Ah. Uh, they say never to do business with your bartenders, but you got a deal.
Okay, great. Go ahead and sign this contract. Don't worry about that little word at the bottom that says
Yeah.
5% royalty
Yeah.
in perpetuity. Don't worry about that. It's meaningless. It's just legal
Do I need
jargon.
do I need to do I need to get a lawyer for this or?
Uh, Modify memory. Yeah. So thanks
Great.
for
Where do I
signing the
sign?
contract.
Right. Of course. No problem. Looking forward to doing business with you. All
Yeah.
right. Whew,
Well,
man.
that's all the downtime I have for you because now we got to close the tavern and have the downtime in between open sessions.
Oh, I hate this downtime. This is the worst downtime. Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Get out.
All right. At least I've got a lot of lemonade. If I come back extremely bloated, you know what happened. It's your fault. I blame you. All right.
Uh,
See ya.
okay, bye.
Bye.